Maloree got her first elk today. Right on, Mal. So we're breaking down this cow, and one thing that I would like to share with you guys. So we're deboning this whole elk, taking the meat right off the elk here because we're a little ways in. Cows don't want to be down low this year because we don't have as much snow. But one thing on the hind quarters, what I do, what I've learned is I like to come in from the spine side until I come into the joint and fillet it this way. So I'll come in right here and stay along the bone. And why I like doing this is because if you're by yourself, it helps a ton. Because you're always trying to cut this piece by yourself. You got a leg over your shoulder and you're trying to get to the backbone and you're trying to get that last piece of meat off and you're fighting it. So if you come from this side first, you can almost go all the way into the joint. And if you just stay right on the bone, just like you were gonna, take the whole leg off. And you just fillet it in. And the further you can go in, the better. And she's a little bit on an angle, so it's kind of hard, but you can see how we're just staying right against the bone, super tight, so we don't lose any meat. And we're just gonna come all the way into that hip joint, or as far in as we can get. And just stay as tight as you can to the bone. And then you can see how we're coming in. And this really helps. So there's the hip joint right there. So we're into the hip joint. So that way when we come from the other side, we don't have to worry about trying to cut this big piece of meat off. We're not fighting it. So you just come in from the other side, get to the hip joint, you can take that whole hind quarter right off. We'll put the hind quarter in some snow, and maybe we'll show you how we totally take the whole piece of meat off a hind quarter, all in one big chunk. So you can see how we came in from the backside first, then we held the hind quarter up, and we were able to come right in. But you can see how clean that was. I mean, very little meat still left on the bone. And when you're by yourself and you're trying to do that and you're trying to get to that last part on the back, you're just fighting it most of the time. Anybody who takes off a hind quarter by themselves, especially an elk, you know how hard it is. So come in from the backside first, get right into the joint, fillet it all off, and it pops off super easy. Now we're gonna show you how we're gonna take this whole piece of meat off in one big chunk and put it in a game bag. Okay, so we got a whole elk hind quarter right here. I'm gonna show you how I take off the whole hind quarter when we debone an elk hind quarter. What I do first is I come back here, I'll come up the leg, and if you just stay right close, you'll come right to the bone. Then you can just come straight up this femur bone. And there's almost like a seam right there. You can see how that seam right there, it just kind of fell right apart. And then you'll just fillet this whole hind quarter. So that's the knee. You come into the knee joint right there. Stay as tight as you can to the bone. And the reason I do this, because I don't like packing bone. You might lose a little bit, but if you get right home quick and clean it up, very little meat loss, and you're saving your legs and your back, and especially if you're by yourself. And you can see how we got right down to the knee joint there. And then we'll take the shank meat off after. Got that whole nice piece of shank meat, but look at that one hind quarter, all in one big piece. You can put that in your game bag. That way when you get home, you can still just get your cuts of meat off, your roast, your steaks, and you're just not hacking away chunks of meat and throwing it in the game bag. So basically you just took it right off the bone. And the snow's nice because it keeps it nice and clean. bone-in shank is delicious, like ossobuco or something, but I still love to take the shank meat and take it home and put it in a pressure cooker. It has a lot of connective tissue in it, but if you put it in a pressure cooker and cook it all day long, one thing we like to do is, I need to change my blade obviously, is put it in the Instapot with onion soup and make like a French onion soup out of it. It's so good. So don't overlook the shank meat because it really is really good, delicious meat. And I mean, there's probably at least 5 pounds. I don't know. I'm not going to say because I've never really weighed it, but you know, the shank meat's pretty good. So there's a piece of shank. Then you come on the other side right here and you can take the other piece off as well. And they have them on all 4 quarters. So I mean, front, hinds. This is a hind, little bigger pieces. But yeah, 2 beautiful pieces of meat.